Hello, my dear Taurus. Thank you for joining me. This is going to be your reading for May. And happy birthday. It is definitely your season. We're coming out of quite an intense April where there was a lot of planetary alignments, a lot of big surges, a lots of change. And what I'm hearing in the air is a lot of people's bubbles were burst. So whatever that means for you, whether it was you thought you were going one way and it was very abruptly changed, or your perceptions changed based on shifts in your relationships, in your career. And in my experience, there was just a lot of pressure in the air. Our bodies were picking up on surges of energy, on changes in tension, on we knew that things were happening in the background, but a lot of people were just moving around saying, well, I don't really know what to do with it, but I can feel it. And hopefully in your birthday season, you'll be very comfortable to be able to put the pieces back together, to integrate April and to move forward into May. So we're going to do a 4-card reading this month. How exciting to see what is aligned for you in the month coming up. We'll have an anchor card and then a 3-card story. Very cool, Taurus, very cool. And we will always back it up with the shadow card. Very important. So overall, there's this theme for you all, and this is if you've got Taurus in your chart anywhere really, but particularly sun signs. We are actually trying to invest our resources in something that builds over time. We're watching it grow. We're watching the progress. We're watching how we can put it together and learn the skills. And we're hoping to bank. It's not just money. Resources for us are also time, energy, supportive relationships, structure, sustainability, health. It's really everything that puts together for you a plan and a structure and a network around you that holds you during the difficult times as well. So we're building that structure, we're building that foundation. And you may have seen that happening through April. You may have had some very abrupt, this person isn't actually supportive anymore, or that person doesn't have capacity, or my savings aren't moving forward well enough, or I'm actually more depleted when I thought I was. It can also be an invitation towards better health, better foundations, better knowledge around how to actually build resources. Because this card tells me that we are finishing off some difficult cycles. And they are cycles that have probably perplexed you in your brain. It is more that you've been thinking a certain way for a long period of time, and that's represented, or it probably at one stage represented huge amounts of insight and awakening. But as it progressed, it got more and more difficult to process. Now, this reminds me of programs in the brain around discomfort or unworthiness, or this picture or this story you have of yourself that is just not working out. Because if we're trying to build resources, we're trying to build a better future for ourselves, more sustainability, more structure, more dependable structures, then you being mean to yourself or you being unkind to yourself and painting a story that you can't actually build is what's now in the way. Because it's not just what other people are saying. It's not just that other people don't believe that you can create what you want to create. It's more that, do you actually believe? And are you telling yourself the right narratives every single day? Reminds me of affirmation work, of reprogramming the subconscious mind. There are ways to do this, but we have to work at it day in, day out. And how are your habits aligning to the progress that you're trying to make? Do you believe that you can get there? Are you providing your own, not even motivation, just support systems to get you there? Or are you convincing yourself every single day that it's not worth it, that you can't get there, that you're not worthy, and all these things that come into our brain? So just be very careful of any motivations based on fear, telling you that you can't. We want to know that you can, and we want you to support your own narratives, not just everybody else's, Taurus, because I know you're good at that. because the energy is moving. We are coming out of stagnation for you. Things are flying. The doors are opening. The lights are going green. It is a month of, and because it's your month, it's a month of free flow. You know, that beautiful feeling when the universe just opens to you. Take advantage of it and make sure that you are moving away from the difficult cycles, away from the shitty programs in your mind and the thoughts that tell you that you can't. We have to destroy and uncreate those, clear them out, and build something that's more aligned with where you want to go. Being mindful that along the way, you might have to stick up for yourself. You might have to let people know that you've changed, you are changing, you're trying to change. And just ask them gently and kindly not to remind you of the person that you're trying to change. Because our relationship structures can do that, don't we? We all get very comfortable in what has been. And if you've been the one holding everybody else up, but then beating yourself up on the inside, or waiting for someone else to encourage, now's the time to encourage yourself and notice when any kind of friction shows up. You might have to respond and act in the moment when you feel pressure from others, from society, from your loved ones, or from the structures around you. If they're not supportive, then it can be talked about, right? So if they're not supportive, then the simple conversation is, hey, I'm really trying to change this. I'm really involved in this part of my life. I really want to create more support around me. And I'd really like to have you on board. Here are some of the ways that you can support me. But any kind of disempowering narratives or criticisms are now not on the table anymore, because I don't need that kind of energy to motivate me anymore. I'm releasing myself from that cycle. And watch how we do it in our own minds. A lot of us have grown up through criticism-based motivation. If the world deems us to be bad or unworthy, then the idea is we'll motivate ourselves to be better. But the problem with this system is it perpetuates low self-worth over generations and generations and generations. And we notice a lack of positive reinforcement, a lack of unconditional love, and true support. True support is, if you were truly going to support someone in your life, you would cheerlead them no matter what. You would help them out through the dark times, not criticize and judge where they are. You would celebrate them when they're on a win, and you would also come into neutrality of, look, you're on a win, but please look after yourself. And that's a dark time, but I know you can do it. It's really having that fundamental consistency in earth, which is where you're at, Taurus. And just be mindful of the passionate, creative, fiery parts of you, or the passionate, creative, fiery people around you that have a different ideology of how they're going to build their resources. Everybody's in a different place. We are in the same collective soup, but all of our wounding's different. All of our unique gifts are different. All of our personalities are different. And certainly where we've been is different, and our trauma response are different. So be curious about what support actually looks like for yourself and for other people. And if we're creative and curious at all times, we can actually learn from each other what works for you and acknowledge it doesn't work for me. Rather than, do we have this experience that someone in your life just keeps on giving you the same advice and the same advice and the same advice, and you know that that advice is coming from them? It's their subconscious needs that they're projecting onto you. Now's the time to have the conversation, Taurus, around, well, you keep on giving me this advice. Is that because I have the same problem? Or is that because you can't accept that part of me? Or are we having the wrong conversation? Because support for me looks like, let's unwind and understand each other's problems together and try different things so that what works, we can log that, and I can remind you of that in the future. So I have to go through this with all my neurodivergent friends all the time. If I give neurotypical advice to someone that's wired differently, it can almost add pressure to what they're already trying to deal with. So it's important for me to stay curious and say, would it help if you tried this? Yes or no? Or I can see that you're drowning in something, but I don't want to throw you my version of what safety looks like. And get curious about what they're trying to do and how they're trying to build and how they manage their own systems. So what we're looking towards is radical self-acceptance and radical acceptance of those around us, rather than just getting frustrated at who they are presenting to be, knowing that they're trying to get somewhere and we can support them in that. Difficult process though. Let's pull out the shadow card. That'll give us a little bit more understanding of what might be drawn to the surface. So remember, our overriding theme is we are building, we are investing in our future. We are building resources so that you have the time and the energy and the money in the future to come to a sense of stability or permanence, or a place where you feel that the structure is amazing and your support is profound so that you can get to the next level of awareness. Manta Ray comes through. My friends have been pulling this card recently. Manta Ray is a really interesting energy. It is powerful and it's big and it glides effortlessly. Now, when you glide effortlessly towards that which you want, the biggest friction point, the biggest problem with that is that other people don't. And it's such an interesting place we are in our society right now. And if you think about everything you've been through and all the media that we watched over your whole life and all the stories, we are so programmed to compare ourselves to other people. But Manta Ray tells me that what's in your shadow is actually, you do have the capacity to glide through and progress and find what you want effortlessly. It's that earthly nature to us. You can provide for yourself the material wealth, the supportive structures, anything you want, you can just glide on through. We know it takes hard work. You're pretty good at that. We know it takes the right environment. Glide through. Just because this part of your life is hard for other people doesn't mean it needs to be hard for you. And when Manta Ray swims effortlessly towards its dreams and the things that it loves, just expect a little bit of friction from other people. And that's okay, because we're all learning about what works for each individual. And generally in your season, you're going to glide on through with the earthly nature in the air. We're out of April, which has been a huge surge. So now glide on through. You know what to do. Build your resources. Think about where you're headed, where you're going, and get there effortlessly. Put in the time, put in the work. No shadowy negative conversations with yourself, please. Know that you're in a surge. It's go time for you. And just witness and observe. When you glide towards your dreams effortlessly, what does that pull out in other people? And how can we support them in that? And know that we're all really testing each other's capacity and shadow all the time. It is one of the most fundamentally beautiful parts of life to be networked and connected to other people and notice that they're so different. There's some things that are the same, but we're all so different. We actually want different things and we're expressing that in a different way. And we can learn from each other if we've learned how to witness our own lives. Those that haven't learned how to witness their own lives are in an egoic construct. An egoic construct means that they are more likely to choose the victim voice and see everything as a reflection on their personality and how deficient that feels, rather than just witness the parts of ourselves that are uncomfortable in the moment. Yeah. So just be mindful of that and stand up for yourself and stand up for what you're trying to achieve, and let people know that it's no threat. It's just a different way of doing things. So glide on through, Taurus. I love you so much. I'll see you next month. Bye.